These are the running backs you have to draft in your fantasy football leagues. All right, I'll get this thing started with a guy that I think is going to fly off of draft boards. Why? Because I know that every single one of you has seen the Hard Knocks clips. We've all seen them. He looks explosive. He looks incredible. He's working his ass off. He's paying so much attention in the film room. And he was a first-round pick, in case you all forgot. Jadarian Price to the Seattle Seahawks, the reigning Super Bowl champs. Price was an incredibly efficient runner in college. And yes, he didn't have the workload of a typical guy that would be going in the first round for a running back. But the thing was, he sat behind a guy that ended up getting drafted third overall in this class. But Jadarian Price, for his college career, averaged right around 6 yards per carry. He forced at the third highest rate in college football missed tackles. One of those guys that was at or around was Jeremiah Love, but he actually was better at forcing missed tackles than Jeremiah Love on a per-touch basis. He's a first-round pick that is now stepping into the Ken Walker role to a T. And while Ken Walker wasn't always the most productive fantasy back, what Ken Walker was is the RB 18 and 19 in the last 2 years. And Jadarian Price is currently being drafted as the running back 29. On top of that, Zach Charbonnet, his backup, may not be ready for week 1. And I know there's George Holani truthers out there and stuff. And, of course, Emmanuel Wilson's also in that offense. But none of this concerns me. Jadarian Price was a first-round pick for a reason. And at the bare minimum, the guy will be stepping into the Ken Walker role. And I think his floor is honestly the RB20, just like I said about Ken Walker. So when the guy is being drafted 10 whole spots after that, essentially, I see that there is way too much value and something's missing in the market there. Because Jadarian Price will be heavily involved in this offense in as many ways as possible. Yesterday's price is not today's price, and I expect his ADP to fly up.
Yeah, I mean, this is a guy, like you said, he's going as a running back 29 right now, and that just seems like a great price for him, right? Like, no pun intended. I feel like every time you say the word price, yeah. I think the Zach Charbonnet stuff is the biggest selling point here, right? Like, he's gonna have a real chance from week 1 to solidify himself as potentially a bell cow. Are they going to use him as that off the rip? Probably not, but he's going to have a chance to separate himself from the George Holanis, the Emmanuel Wilsons of the world. And then when Sharps comes back, he's going to have a role. He's a bruiser or goal line back, but I mean, they drafted the kid with a first round pick. Like, they have a plan for him. They want him to be a featured part of this offense. So yeah, I mean, I don't really have much to say about Jadarian Price. I think at his current value, I think he's a great pick. I don't think you're getting a guy with that much upside at that spot, right? Like, I don't think an RB1 is in the cards for him as a rookie, but I think he could be a top 15 guy at the position. I think he'd be top 15, top 16 guy, whereas, he's going around the likes of Jalen Warren, Chuba Hubbard before him, and then Ramondre Stevenson, Tony Pollard going a few picks after him, and in some drafts, those guys will get drafted before him. I don't think anyone in that range of 5 guys has the upside that a Jadarian Price has. So
not even remotely close. And it's tough because, like, taking a rookie in general, you don't have NFL data to base this on. But the guy was so amazing on a per-touch basis in college football. And while, yes, that could be attributed to the fact that he wasn't getting as many touches, but at the same time, like, he's so incredibly explosive that even if he's not an RB, he doesn't have to be an RB1 to return value for you. If he's the RB20, he has immensely returned value for you. Right. So, like, rounds above. So that's why I just think that no matter what, he will outperform that RB29 by at minimum 7 to 8 spots. So
right, and I think the Ken Walker point is a great point too, because Ken Walker never saw 60% of the carries in that backfield and still finish as a top 20 running back multiple times. So, like, we've seen within the Seahawks offense that's well within the cards for him. And, like, you shouldn't be worried for when Zach Charbonnet comes back, because Price profile is very similar to a Ken Walker in terms of the way they could break off explosive runs and things of that nature. So, yeah, I absolutely love it. My first running back that I'm going to try to basically leave every single draft with is Chase Brown. He's expensive. He's going as a running back 10 on Sleeper right now. You have to get him in about, I'd say, the middle of the second round. He just went in one of our mocks around there. I have him as my running back 5. He was the running back 5 last year from week 7 on with Joe Burrow back and Joe Flacco, basically without Jake Browning. I mean, in Chase Brown's last 20 games that Jake Browning wasn't the starting quarterback for the Bengals, he's finished no lower than an RB23 on the week.
Wow.
So he's been the absolute model of consistency. One of the best receiving running backs in the league. I mean, in the last 6 games last year to end the season, his receiving fantasy points per game was at 11.8 points per game, only behind Christian McCaffrey. He is a guy who they've been talking up all camp, and I know camp reports don't mean everything, but I mean, they've come out and said they're moving him around the formation like a Jamar Chase. I don't think Chase Brown is going to get used like Jamar Chase, but if we get more opportunities with him lined out wide, that's just music to your ears, especially in PPR formats. This is a guy who doesn't have much competition, right? Like, he's the clear goal line back. Even if he's not a great goal line back, he is the goal line back. There's no competition behind him. He's obviously going to lead the backfield in touches overall. He obviously has no threat for receiving work behind him. And in terms of the receiving work, there's only 2 guys in front of him in the receiver room. Like, he's the clear third receiver on this team who's going to see 200-plus touches. And a stat that I'm going to talk about with my next guy, too, running backs with 220-plus carries on a season with a top 5 projected offense finish as top 12 running backs 80% of the time. So, yeah, you're getting him at the RB10. He's one of the safest picks you can make in all fantasy football. Yes, there's injury concerns with Joe Burrow, and that could kind of derail everything. I'll keep saying, and I've said it a few times throughout the summer, if you're that scared of injuries, you need a new hobby.
Yes.
Like, let's stop being a bitch. Let's play to win. Chase Brown, given where he's going, it's risk versus reward, right?
Yes.
Like, same thing with Jadarian Price to a different level with Chase Brown, obviously, because he's more expensive. He's one of the few guys going in that range who can finish as a top 5 running back, who could potentially finish as a top 3 running back. Like, I think 1 and 2 is kind of
I think you shut it down at the top too, but
he's more as likely as anyone going after those 2 guys to finish as a top 3 guy. So I'm definitely smashing Chase Brown, especially in drafts where I'm drafting from the middle, where I could start with an Amon, a Puka, JSN, whoever, coming back to me in the middle of the second round. I'm completely fine with Chase Brown being my RB1.
Yeah, I absolutely love Chase Brown, and we actually spoke about it on, I think it was the mock draft episode that isn't released yet, that you guys will see. I was surprised to find out that I was higher on Chase Brown than I was on a guy that I'm actually going to speak about in a minute. But in general, I had him as the RB6 in terms of total fantasy points, and I think it's just an absolute smash play. Like, it's scary because the name value isn't quite there yet. And It's like, I think that's what makes me hesitate so much. But it's just, after looking at everything that I statted him out for, it's like, nope, it makes sense. He's the guy in an elite offense, an offense that may well finish as the best offense in the NFL. So,
like, if Chase Brown is at 4.3, which he's been at for his career, 4.2 yards per carry, doesn't fucking matter.
No.
It doesn't fucking matter. No. Like, it just doesn't. He's going to get,
that's still solid as hell.
I have him statted out for 92 targets. I might be on the higher end of it, but I have him going for 92 targets, 72 receptions, and 470 receiving yards with 4 receiving touchdowns.
I mean,
like, we're pretty similar. I just have him getting a little bit more receiving work. But yeah,
I can't blame you for it whatsoever. Honestly, where do I have him at? Let's see what we got. I have him statted out to have right around 53 catches. Yeah. So I'm high on Chase Brown too this year. I can't lie to you. I'm more than comfortable taking him in the second round. So, especially early second round. That 1-2 turn is where I start to really think. So
yeah, and it's like I said, right? Like, it makes me feel in the middle of the draft, because that's kind of like ADP wise and value wise, that's kind of where he falls, right? Middle of the second round. So in the middle of my draft, I'm not forcing a Christian McCaffrey pick who I'm scared of the 400 touch curse and if he's going to get hurt. I'm not forcing a Jonathan Taylor pick where I'm scared of the Colts offense and Daniel Jones off for torn Achilles. I'm not forcing a Saquon Barkley pick who's not that good last year. Even a Devon Etienne, if we've seen him go around that range, middle of the first round in some of these. on a terrible, terrible offense. I'm going to take a wide receiver who I know is a sure thing and then wait for Chase Brown to make it back to me to be my RB1.
Yes, I completely agree with that. And I'll say this. If you don't get the chance to have Chase Brown, there is a guy that I just mentioned before that I actually have right behind him and I do believe is a major value in fantasy football drafts. Why is he the RB13 in fantasy football right now? I don't understand. The guy is Derrick Henry. I don't care about the age cliff points. I don't care about the workload points. I don't care about anything you could ever bring up about Derrick Henry, if I'm being quite honest. Because what I have come to realize is sometimes in life, some people are just not built like normal human beings. Derrick Henry is one of those people. And it just looks like he could play football forever because he is 6'3" and 255 pounds playing the running back position. Last year, his yards after contact did not drop whatsoever in terms of from the year before. This guy also had Tyler Huntley playing quarterback for stretches for his football team. He was the sole focus of the defense and still averaged over 5 yards per carry. I don't understand how that was even possible. He still managed to be the RB8. He had 16 touchdowns. His floor was the RB8. His floor was the RB8. It's incredible. The last 4 years, he has been no lower than that. And when Lamar was healthy, he averaged over 6 yards per carry and was the RB4. So I don't see what the fantasy community is missing on a Derrick Henry. I understand that he's still a mid to late second round pick, but on what planet? Like, should this guy go any later than the RB6 at this point? It's incredible. Like, I know there's no receiving work there, but when Lamar was there, you had close to 2,000 rushing yards. You had 20 touchdowns, damn near. It's just, I expect nothing different this year. I expect him to go right back to the guy that he was with Lamar Jackson. Probably have a higher yards per carry this year than he did last. Probably have more touchdowns because the offense is going to be just as explosive when Lamar's back. And I'm all in on Derrick Henry. There's no sign of a fall off to this point, and I'm going to continue to believe that one will not be the case until I see it with my own eyes.
I completely agree. I mean, he's been phenomenal. I think the reason he's falling in drafts is just because people like these new shiny toys.
Yes.
Derrick Henry's been at it for damn near 10 years now, and people just want to predict an age cliff fall off for him when there's just no reason to think so. I think I said this a few times last year. I'll say it this year. Like, I'll stop drafting Derrick Henry when he gives me a reason to not draft him, and I haven't seen that yet. And yeah, I mean, everything I said about Chase Brown in terms of the value and ADP and where I'm drafting him, same thing applies to Derrick Henry.
Yes.
Like, that's, again, why I'm not reaching in the middle. If I have a mid pick in the first round, why I'm not reaching, I wouldn't call it reaching, but forcing one of those running back picks who have some question marks that I don't feel as confident in as the wide receivers when I could get a Chase Brown, a Derrick Henry a round later and have an elite wide receiver who I know is a sure thing. So, yeah, I'm all over Derrick Henry.
I'll just say, like, the two guys that are listed above him being Ken Walker, Jeremiah Love,
right.
There is literally no planet that I will ever press that button over.
I didn't want to say too much because we're going to talk about them in the video in 2 days. But, yeah, that's exactly what I'm looking at right now.
Like I'm just so not there on drafting them over a Derrick Henry. And even, like, you probably have him higher in your rankings, but I'm just not there yet until I see it. Ashton Genty. Like, I'm just not – I don't
have him higher than Derrick Henry.
Okay, so I wouldn't take a Ashton Genty over Derrick Henry. He could fall to me in the second round, and I'd still take a Derrick Henry over Ashton Genty. I'm not here for this. Like, I don't understand why the guy would be the RB13 when he's proven, even without Lamar in the lineup, he's at worst the RB8 in fantasy football, and it looks like he's actually only gotten better with age somehow. So, I'm shocked. This is one of the things that needs to be the most course corrected in fantasy football, in my personal opinion. It's bad.
Yeah, and it's something that I don't think is going to be corrected. I think he's going to continue to be like Chase Brown, for example. Chase Brown's on Twitter every single day. Someone's talking about how great Chase Brown is, how they're using him all over the formation. He's risen a few spots as of late.
Yes, he has.
Derrick Henry, everything there is to know need to know about Derrick Henry is out there already. So, like, I don't know if this is a guy who's going to move up draft boards at all for the rest of the summer. I kind of expect him. If anything, I think he might fall a little bit because people are, like I said at the beginning of this, people are going to get more excited about the shiny new toys. You know what I mean?
Yep. Perfect.
Another guy who fits kind of a similar mold. Obviously, he's not as old as a Derrick Henry, but just in terms of people would rather the shiny, exciting toy, it's Javonte Williams for me. He's getting drafted as the running back 19 on Sleeper, and that's just not it. I mean, this is a guy who had 1,200 yards last year, 11 touchdowns. He was incredible last year. I mean, a guy like Bucky Irving, Breece Hall going above him is it's just ridiculous. And I said I was going to bring up this stat again. The running backs who see 220-plus carries on a top 5 projected offense finish as top 12 running backs 80% of the time. This one you're getting at the RB19. Like, that's a shot. 20% chance he doesn't finish as a top 12 running back. I'm going to take that shot every single time. I mean, he had career highs last year in fantasy points, rushing yards, and touchdowns. He was 7th in the league in missed tackles, forced 5th in red zone attempts, and 3rd in goal line attempts. Again, similar to a Chase Brown, to a Derrick Henry, to where there's no competition for him, right? Like, I mean, we both, he had 250-plus touches, carries last year. We both have him seeing even more work. I have him at 273. You have him at about 280. But, you know, around the same yards as last year, like 1,200 to 1,300 or 10-plus touchdowns. And then you're not going to get much receiving work from a Javonte Williams, but he should see around 40, 50 targets, hopefully. You know, bring in 25, 30 balls, give you 200, 250 maybe receiving yards. But, yeah, I mean, it's just the rushing upside and the overall touchdown upside. Like, this is, you know, we talk about it all the time, right? Like, the Cowboys are the Bengals of the NFC. So the same reasons I'm drafting Chase Brown is the reasons why I'm drafting Javonte Williams. Different players, and they're going to score their fantasy points in different ways, but the opportunity is there, right? Like, going to see a ton of goal line work, going to see all the early down work. So, yeah, I'm smashing Javonte Williams at running back 19.
I think, in my personal opinion, after when we were talking about who we were planning on doing, I didn't have my third guy set in stone just yet. And Javonte Williams was a guy that immediately came up to me. And then you texted about Javonte, and I was like, all right, cool. I love Javonte Williams in fantasy. You could get this man at the start of the 4th round. In the 4th round, you're able to get a guy in Javonte Williams that has legitimate top 10 running back upside in fantasy football. There's a clear path to him scoring that 14 or 15 touchdowns. And he's one of those guys that, like, on the goal line, you know he's getting the ball. So it's also awesome to root for a guy like that who fell off so hard. Everybody had all these expectations for him, couldn't stay healthy, and now he's back. He got paid, and he had a phenomenal season last year. So Javonte is just a ridiculously great value in fantasy football right now.
I completely agree, yeah.
Right above him, actually, in ADP, and granted, I will say that I would take Javonte Williams over this man, but I would also take this man over some of the guys above him, and I think he's going a little too low in fantasy drafts, that being Travis Etienne, however you want to pronounce it. I do believe it is actually Etienne, though, but the Saints paid him, and we've been talking about on this channel throughout the offseason so far that typically you want to follow the money for these teams. And he didn't get a cheap contract. He got a bag. He got a fat bag from the Saints to go be their lead back. And you're not paying a guy that much money for him to be in a timeshare with anybody. I see a lot of people concerned about Alvin Kamara and all that. Kamara was washed last year. He was straight up washed. The guy has not been the same football player that we all think he is based on his name value. He hasn't been that guy in years, and it is not going to get better. It is unfortunately only going to get worse. His only competition aside from Alvin Kamara is Devin Neal, and if Kendra Miller could stay healthy for more than a game, that too. But I'm not concerned at all about any of his competition, and the guy has also proven in the past that he is more than capable of handling a full workload over the last few years. His RB18 is essentially his floor. And he is listed as the RB18 right now. I definitely see him being significantly higher because that's all he's proven with the Jags over the past few seasons when he's been fully healthy. He has been a top 10 PPR running back. I expect more of the same. Of course, very different scheme, but last year he was used in the slot more than he had been in his entire career and was a damn good pass catcher at that. So on top of that, I also think he gets an offensive line upgrade. If this Saints offensive line is healthy, it is young, it is mean, it is nasty. It is a very, very, very good front five. So I'm all over this. 4.3 yards per carry last year. He had one of the best seasons of his entire career, and now he is motivated because he came home. This is where he's from, too. He is home, and I think Travis Etienne is going to have the best season of his career with the most receiving work of his career as well. I'm all over Travis Etienne at current ADP. I think he should be going at the start of the third round or at least higher than where he's going right now and probably more like the RB15.
I completely agree. Another one where I don't really have much points, right? Like we've seen him do the thing. We've seen him do the thing 2 times now before, finishing as high as the RB3 overall in full PPR.
Yep.
Obviously had an off year in the middle of that, but the Jaguars were just bad overall 2 years ago. Yeah, I mean, Kellen Moore running backs have eaten before.
Yes, they have.
I think, I really don't have anything to say here. Like,
there's legitimately zero competition. Like,
no
all
competition.
respect to Alvin Kamara, but it's over. Like, it is over. He's not the same guy he used to be, and he's not even the same guy in the receiving game that he used to be. So it just makes all the sense in the world for Etienne to have gotten the bag and then still be the guy that's getting 80% of the snaps or more. So
yeah, he's a guy who, like, I don't think he fits in. He doesn't fit into the mold of a Derrick Henry, Chase Brown, Javonte, where like the top 5 projected offense thing comes into play here. But that's okay.
They should also still be a good offense.
They should be a good offense. Like, and Travis is just a guy who, I don't know if there's not like too much upside, right? Like Chase Brown and Derrick Henry, those guys could finish as top 5 guys potentially. Yes. You're drafting them with that upside.
Yes.
Like Travis Etienne going much later. When you draft him, you know what you're going to get. I mean, in our mock draft that's coming out tomorrow, actually, we drafted him in that one. And it felt good clicking him. Like,
felt great.
You know what I mean? Like,
middle of the 4th round, I get a guy that I know is damn near a top 15 fantasy running back lock. I feel great about that. And I could get him later than that top 15 upside. So I'm all for it.
Yeah, and then my last running back, a little bit of a deeper cut here. He's currently going as the running back 41 on Sleeper. It is Rachaad White. Love Rachaad White, the player. When he had his breakout year and finished as the RB4 overall in full PPR, I was actually all over that one. That was one of my better calls. But this guy who comes over to Washington to be their receiving back, right? Like we saw in Jaden's rookie year, they had Austin Eckler out there splitting time, and Austin Eckler was giving you multiple weeks of putting up 10-plus full PPR points. This is one of the better receiving backs in the league. I mean, to start his career, 58 targets, 70 targets, 57, and then last year only 45. But I kind of just chalk up last year for the same way we do with Baker and Ibuka, just chalk it up for the Buccaneers. It was a weird thing they had going on there. And kind of an exciting thing about Rachaad White is his efficiency on the ground has gotten better, right? Like his first 2 years, he was a sub 4 yards per carry guy. Last 2 years, it's not great, but he's been a 4.3 yards per carry guy, which will get the job done. He's going to be the pass catching back, 1, because of his expertise in that role, and 2, because of his pass blocking ability.
He's so good.
And then his competition, right? We talk about running back competition. He's not a guy who's going to lead the backfield or be a bell cow, but for that role, there's no competition. JCM is just not a receiving threat. He might be the early down guy. He's not a receiving threat. JCM's also a guy who I'm pretty sure had 4 fumbles in his 180 whatever carries he had last year. Rachaad White's put the ball on the ground 5 times in his 4-year career. I think there's a world here where Rachaad White sees more rushing volume than people anticipate because he's a safer option, because he's trusted by Dan Quinn and David Blau in that Washington offense. He's also a guy who, for what it's worth, played with Jaden Daniels at Arizona State, so there's a little bit of chemistry there. I just feel like he's a guy who, going where he's going at the running back 41, I feel like it's a fine click, like to be a to be a spot start for you with some baked-in upside, especially if Bill Krosky misses time, or if the Commanders just decide, like, hey, this is a guy we trust, this is a guy we want to give the ball to the bulk of the time. So I like Rachaad White at his value.
JCM puts that ball on the floor one time. I'll tell you right now, it is the Rachaad White show. So, especially if it happens early on in the season, it might become the Rachaad White show very quickly. So, I'm all for it, and there is no risk in where he's going.
No risk at all.
Literally none.
I said something like this about Roschon Johnson last year, and it kind of bit me in the ass, but I'd be really shocked if I'm not going to say there's an 100% chance because, again, it bit me in the ass last time, but I'd be really shocked if Rachaad White doesn't outperform running back 41. Like, I don't have him much higher than that. I have him as my running back 35. Like, it's not, it's not much there, but
it's a little different with the Chicago Bears backfield because they ended up going out and getting a guy like Kyle Monaghan. They target. Granted, he wasn't an early draft pick or nothing, but Monaghan turned out to be really good. They didn't. Right. They went out and got Rachaad White.
Yeah.
So they actively targeted a Rachaad White to come into that backfield and come help out. So I think it's I'm willing to say it, a guarantee he outperforms RB41 this year. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I'd be pretty shocked if he doesn't. So again, this isn't a guy who's gonna finish as a top 10 guy, be a running back one, but to be a spot start, if there's an injury, he's a home run pick.
Yes.
He's a home run if there's an injury. And again, there is a world, it's a slim chance it happens, but there is a world where he's just a guy for them and they, for whatever reason, use him like a bell cow.
For sure.
So
absolutely could see it. Yeah. So as I said before, these are the guys that you absolutely need to draft in fantasy football at the running back position. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to leave a like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and follow us on all of our socials. We are posting every single weekday in the month of August. You have all the content in the world to go and check out. And if that is not enough content for you, we also have multiple other channels. There's a video that is actually out, or there's so many channels that we have now. We have BGU, we have BallGame Unlimited, BallGame Triv, BallGame Podcast. You guys have so much BallGame content that you could go and watch, so go check all of that out. And with that,
BallGame.